Hey folks, it's Steve Wilmes and
Matt Kita, how you doing today?
good. I'm doing good. We're here with another topic on the Risk Control Show. This one's about how aggressive do your active shooter drills really need to be. You know, I think a lot of times, especially when all this kind of really hit the marketplace and people were like, "Oh, we want to do drills and we're going to do them really intense and we're going to really pound the teachers and we're going to pound the facilities and make it as realistic as possible." And then all the lawsuits came and police departments like, "Whoa, hold on. We don't want to be sued. We're not doing these anymore." And then there was kind of a backlash like, "Oh, we need to do it." Well, do you need to do it? That's what we're going to talk about today because we do a lot of these drills. And I think, just looking at them, some of our competitors really like to get into highly intense drills. Yeah. I don't mind them from that perspective of, hey, there's certain tactical teams that need that.
Right.
There are certain levels once you get prepared and that you should be able to do those types of drills with. It's just a matter of who's the audience and when is it appropriate.
Right.
So.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing. I'm thinking of a weightlifter, right? Like, let's say you go into a gym and you want, like, you're not normally in the gym doing weights, but you want to start, do you go to the biggest the biggest weights that you can and try and lift like 400 pounds, Steve, or do you start with something light and build yourself?
Well, all the machismo guys do. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's what happens. They go, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, I can do it. Right.
How?
The point is that these aggressive drills that are run are kind of like the 400-pound weights. Like the people who are participating, they're not ready for something on that level. You really need to start light. And if you want to get to that point and build it up there, fantastic. But until you get everybody trained up to handle that, you're not really helping. Nobody's learning anything if they're shocked and stunned and
in shock.
Yeah.
And dealing with the emotional response versus the rational response to or the logical response. How do I deal with this? And I think that's really the key, Matt. And you pull out the weightlifter. That's a good one. I equate it more to martial arts. Like, you're not going to go fight Bruce Lee or Conor McGregor or who else does everyone dislike these days?
Oh, jeez.
You're not going to go fight Usman, or any of those guys on your first day out. I mean, there's some guys that think they can and they get their butt wiped.
Yes, they do.
But I think really what is the telltale signal here is what transpires if you start off really soft and really easy, and then you look at what the reaction to that is. I can get the same level of response from a very light drill that I can from an extremely intense drill. And that's probably the wrong wording, not response. I get the same level, or I can actually get better level of training, of absorption from a much lower impact drill than I can a really aggressive drill, right? One where there's loud noises and banging and, yelling and screaming and
everybody's in tack gear and
moulage and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
You don't need it. Right. Like, we look at what we just go around and we can start off with something very basic, looking through the windows, shining a flashlight, trying to open the door without really slamming it, or kicking on it or anything like that. Don't even have to knock on the windows, knock on the doors, don't have to say anything. And when you come out of that and it's over, the adrenaline dump is happening so intensely that people are crying. Students are crying, staff is crying. It's intense. And I think because people get in their head, the emotionality of it in the sense of, gosh, what would I do? What would happen? Gosh, I was pinned down here for a very long time.
Yeah. I mean, people have wild imaginations, and you put them in a situation like that, you're basically setting themselves up to make out this horrible scenario where they could suffer injury or worse, you know? And really, the point isn't so much that we're trying to stun anybody into action or anything like that. We're really testing the protocol, the process
exactly.
of what happens. And you don't need to go full blown, like, crazy
Right.
explosions everywhere to test the protocol. You're still going to do communications. You're still going to be locking the door. You're still going to be hiding,
Or
run, hide,
simulating
fight.
a fight.
Yeah, you're still going to be doing that stuff, and you don't need flashbangs and guys in tack gear,
Right.
and bulletproof vests to do that.
Rattling doors and all
Right.
that. I mean, look, it's fun. It's fun when you get to be on that side of the drill,
Right.
where you're really doing the tactical piece. And like I said, if you're law enforcement, yeah, you need that, but you don't do that with kids around, right? You don't even really do it with staff around the first time.
Right.
You have to build up to these things. It's called stress inoculation. And the way you do that is very methodical. You don't just jump in there. And I think that's such a downfall with so many of these organizations that are providing this. It's like, yeah, let's make sure that they're all trained up, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
and they want to dive in. And I get that from that standpoint of, wow, this looks cool. It's neat. It's a really neat experience. But you have to understand the audience. People didn't sign up to work at a school to do tactical, there's very few people are doing martial arts that are instructors.
Right.
80-year-old librarians are not really thinking, gosh, I want to get out there and fight everybody every day. It's a different thing. So you really have to take the aggression out of it and work through the protocols, build on those responses. Work on the stress inoculation of it all, and you will be amazed at how fast your program progresses when people can understand, gosh, I don't like this at all to begin with. However, I know I have to do it. And that wasn't so bad. Let me work on this next piece. I learned a couple things here. Gosh, the learning experience was actually good. I wasn't, fearful for my life in this learning experience. Right. Like, you don't want to learn to skydive by jumping out and then getting the instruction on the way down when you're like, you do that in controlled environment, I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
No,
100%. And those days they're over for a lot of us. But I think just looking at what we saw recently and with all the media attention, people are really heightened about this. And I think that's good. But I think, this aggressive really run in and charge in and bang everything up is too much. It's too much. And again, I was really surprised by the results that we got with just starting off with low impact, low impact. And that's why I think I'm an advocate of the low impact.
Right.
I like the low impact. You can learn a lot. You can build on it. So if you're asking me, how long does this whole process take? You're really looking at 2 to 3 years. Building up your emergency response plan and stressing the different parts of the program, and then making sure that everybody can respond to that. If you can do training once a month, that's great. Get it out there. The perishable skills are going to kind of stay there.
Yeah.
But, you don't need to go hard charging into these areas. Now, personally, on my side of the house, I like the hard charging because I'm doing Krav and all this kind of stuff. So it's, that part's fun. But, when I see the impact that I'm having on somebody, even somebody, here's the funny thing, right? Real low impact. Maybe you take a hostage, right? By accident, they just happen to be in an area that you happen to get into, and you're like, okay, how are you doing? Great. You're hiding. Okay. You can come out of there now. Right. I'm going, if you don't mind, I'm going to use you as a hostage. I don't even touch the person. Just knock on the door that I want to get into. Hey, I have your teacher out here. If you don't open up. Right. And just that, even when they say, yeah, I'm okay. Right. After the drill, and it all then the you know,
adrenaline,
the waterworks starts,
Mhm.
and it because those thoughts go through your head.
Right.
Gosh, I was a hostage. I was going to be killed, and those that's really serious.
Yeah.
That's serious on people's psyche.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. The fantasy, you know, the bad fantasy, the nightmare really starts to build up. And like in the moment, you're kind of okay, you know, because you got the adrenaline going, you know, there's, yeah. Sometimes in the middle of that, you kind of get a sense of zen, a qualm as it were, you know. But then when you get out of it, even low impact drills, like we might recommend for someone who's just starting, it just all comes out, and it's amazing how we see these emotional reactions. And for us as trainers, I know it's for you, for me as well, Steve. You know, I feel like I feel bad that we've put them in.
Yeah,
this,
I do too. Absolutely.
you know, but at the same time, it's still so necessary to run these kinds of
It's
drills,
very necessary.
you know.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's a sad state of affairs, but you have to do it. And I look to, you know, country of Israel, you know, where you're under constant pressure and attack, and if you want to live and survive, then you learn to handle certain things.
Yeah.
And the same goes here. You know, we have to face our realities. We can't just escape from that. Back to that adrenaline dump. I mean, I went out with one of my colleagues. This is years and years and years ago now. I've responded to a lot of car accidents. I've held people when they die. You know, just a lot of tragedy. But the worst one that ever got me was I went out, had lunch, went to a meeting, came back. I rode with a colleague,
Right.
came back. I went into the restaurant again. When I got back to the restaurant to use the bathroom, I came out of the bathroom and I hear all this screaming going on. And it was a woman at a minivan. The minivan door was open. Basically, she had changed the diaper on the baby, went and put the baby back in the car seat, went around to grab something, and the door opened. And during that point when the door opened, the baby had already rolled out of the car seat because they were getting ready to go in. So she had just set her there. The baby had rolled, you know, probably like 9 months or something, but wiggled his way out, fell down between the door and the minivan kind of step, and his head was being crushed in this door. And there was a guy there trying to pull this door off, and so I went over and I helped him, and we got the baby out. And the baby's head was deformed, of course.
Right.
The mother was hugging me and crying, and everything's going to be all right. I felt fine. I got in the car, I started driving, and the adrenaline dump, and I just was shaking.
Right.
And I'm like, why am I shaking?
Right.
Yeah. I've responded to so many of these. Why am I shaking? You know, I have no reason to be shaking. And, but it got me. Yeah. It got me, and I didn't even realize it. And that's what you're dealing with. So if you're going out there inducing the stress, really, the impact on the day is enough already. Yeah. You know, the rest of the day. But if you're going out, you really need to consider when you're doing an intense, aggressive drill like that, and then planning the rest of the day around it. You better have counselors, some mental health advocates. Oh yeah. And you better have some food and some drink and some time to wind down. Yes. You know? So that's important. I think really important. Really, really important. All right. Well, that's all I got on that piece. I mean, that's enough, but it's a lot.
I think we covered it.
Do you get the point? You don't need to be aggressive in your drills. You can be. Just make sure you're doing it right. And if you want to know what that looks like, give us a call. Be happy to answer that. So thank you. And don't forget to subscribe. And we have that wonderful YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it out there, we got a bunch of videos on there. So I hope you're enjoying these. Let us know what else you want us to answer, and we'd be happy to.
All right. Have a good one, guys.